What makes a great Spider-Man movie? Is it the action? Maybe it's the romance? Or does it all depend on the suit? There are many factors that play into what makes each Spider-Man movie as well as each Spider-Man special. Essential aspects of certain stories and supporting characters that must be present in order for a Spider-Man movie to work. All things Spider-Man Brand New Day has to consider in order to really hit the mark this time around. And while I am fond of Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the Home trilogy, that doesn't mean that they didn't have their flaws. Flaws that Brand New Day has the chance to correct after the events of No Way Home, which provides Marvel with the rare opportunity to kind of start over with a clean slate, and finally give the character and his stories the proper care and attention it deserves. So now what needs to be done in order for this to be a great Spider-Man movie? What does Spider-Man Brand New Day need to get right? Let's get this out of the way first. This movie should not have any cameos. It worked well in No Way Home. It was fun. Let's leave it at that. The thing about cameos, especially in recent Marvel, is they feel a bit reductive to the movie as a whole. Instead of watching the movie for the story, people are showing up solely in anticipation for a cameo. And to me, they've always felt like Marvel's way of saying, we know our movies haven't been to the highest standards lately, and we hear your concerns. Here's Howard the Duck. It's the same reason why I'm not all that excited for Avengers Doomsday, among other things. They showed off all these chairs of characters that have, for the most part, no connection to each other, and that we've hardly spent any time with, and they want us to react like this. But back to Spider-Man, I would prefer for him to actually be in control of his own movie this time around, and solving his own problems, instead of being pushed to the side and constantly needing help and validation from other characters. I feel like that was the biggest issue most people had with the Home trilogy. Whether it was Iron Man in Homecoming, Nick Fury and Mysterio in Far From Home, or Doctor Strange and the other Spider-Man in No Way Home. This version of Spider-Man has unfortunately always needed help from those around him, and hasn't had the chance to really spread his wings and show what he's capable of on his own. Spider-Man at its core is a story about perseverance, overcoming odds that seem much larger than yourself, and when getting knocked down, getting back up. Something I feel like we've yet to truly see in these movies. We've seen glimpses of it here and there. It just feels like there's always someone off to the side with a safety net in case things get a little too risky. Now with that out of the way, let's move on to the juicy part. The story. From the moment No Way Home ended like this, to when Brand New Day was announced, I think we all collectively wanted the same thing. A simple, grounded, street-level Spider-Man movie, with maybe some other street-level heroes sprinkled in the mix. I guess you could say a classic Spider-Man story. Something that would let us sort of wean off of the multiverse stuff for a bit. Not to say the stories aren't cool, but I feel like they're just everywhere nowadays. And like, there's other stories out there, guys. I feel like Spider-Verse did it perfectly, so I don't really care for it outside those movies. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but I feel like a more simple, street-level story would be a real breath of fresh air for this version of the character, seeing as he's been through all these crazy, world-shattering events. More specifically, a more introspective look at Peter's life and the emotions he's dealing with after the events of No Way Home. The importance of these events to Peter's character should not be taken lightly. The gravity of the situation has to be addressed properly or the whole movie will be off. Because at this point in his story, Peter should be at his absolute lowest. Losing his aunt, having everybody forget who he is, essentially never having existed at all. Can you imagine that? Living your whole life just to have it all taken from you. And when it was all said and done, all he had left was Spider-Man. This is a very unique and interesting situation in the sense that now it's a lot higher stakes. He doesn't have that connection to other heroes that he used to, or the technology, that safety net. For the first time in his story, it's entirely up to him. I feel like this would be the perfect opportunity to explore his motivations for being a hero, as well as explore where his priorities lie. What makes him get up and put on the suit and risk his life every day? Why is he still doing what he does even though he has nothing to gain from it? There's a lot of angles you could take with it, honestly, but as long as they get down to the nitty gritty of it and use his situation to their advantage, we'll get a good story out of it. This would also be a good chance for them to finally properly show off how smart Peter is. Peter Parker is supposed to have a genius level intellect. I think it'd be really cool to see what this version of Spider-Man is capable of under his current circumstances. Maybe some more scenes of him building his own gadgets and tech, something that really shows off that he is in fact one of the smartest characters in Marvel. Or a scene like in the Insomniac games where he outsmarts the villain using his own tech. This next bit isn't as important to the story, but it's something I feel like is kind of absent in Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which is pretty weird considering it's one of the defining traits of the character. I'm of course referring to the quips.
Hey kiddo, let mom and dad talk for a minute, will ya?
Uh-oh.
Somebody's been a bad lizard.
So are you like a cow or a Dalmatian?
It's a subtle part of Spider-Man's character, but it makes all the difference. Now, I already hear the
Marvel fans can't take anything serious. Everything's gotta be a joke. Spider-Man is only allowed to be miserable.
shut up. Spider-Man is supposed to be funny. They even reference this in Across the Spider-Verse.
You know, you're the only Spider-Man who isn't funny. We're supposed to be funny.
But I'm not simply saying to make him funny. I think it should be worked into the plot. Like I mentioned earlier, Peter just went through the most traumatic experience of his life. It would make sense that he's using humor as an escape for his situation. It would be a perfect way to showcase how he's been coping with what happened to him. Then there could be that moment where it kind of hits him and he can't joke anymore because it's just all too much for him. And then we could really see him cut loose and maybe even go too far at certain points. It would be a full display of all these emotions kind of bubbling up inside of him that he has to learn to overcome. I feel like something along those lines would be much more impactful than just having him blindly beat on people because he's angry. That bloodlusted Spider-Man that I've seen a lot of people seem to want. But aside from Spider-Man himself, something else I'd like to see is a lot more swinging scenes. And I know what you're thinking.
There's swinging scenes in the home trilogy. What are you talking about?
Shut up! This is a swinging scene. This is a swinging scene. And this is most definitely a swinging scene. This is not a swinging scene. Now, Tom's Spider-Man does have one good swinging scene, but I'ma need them to pump those numbers up. I need this movie to have swinging that's gonna knock my socks clean off. Something that's gonna make me wanna climb up on my roof and try it myself. He's Spider-Man, have him do some crazy stuff. Speaking of having him do crazy stuff, I need them to go crazy for the fight choreography this time around. The way he was moving in No Way Home, yeah, I'ma need more of that. I would like to see Spider-Man be a little more creative when it comes to fighting. You know, using his webs, using all his gadgets, something a little more memorable than just webbing up some guys. However, they're saying that the fight choreography will be overseen by the same team that worked on Shang-Chi. And if that's true, the action in this movie is in good hands. The way Marvel just randomly dropped that banger of a movie and then proceeded to do nothing with it is insane to me. But then again, that's like 95% of like this whole phase, so it's not all that surprising. But anyways, as for other characters in this movie, as of me recording this video, not a lot has been confirmed, so I'm not gonna look too deep into that. All I'm hoping is they don't overdo it with additional characters. Like apparently Hulk is gonna be in this. Don't ask me why. Because like I mentioned before, I'd like this movie to focus on just Spider-Man. And I feel like if there's too many characters, the story will suffer. I'm still holding out hope that they'll do something right with this movie because there's just too much writing on it for it not to be good. And while Brand New Day has the potential to be one of the best MCU projects, it also means one slip up could turn audiences off completely to these movies. Because if a Spider-Man movie can't be good, what hope is there for the future of the MCU? They have the perfect setup. All they have to do is actually follow through and do something with it. But knowing Marvel, it's like a 50-50 chance they make something that either pleasantly surprises us or horribly disappoints us. But anyways, what are you guys hoping to get out of Spider-Man Brand New Day? What are some characters or storylines you want to see them explore? And do you think this movie will shape up to be a great Spider-Man movie? Let me know.